Okay, so what have I got today? Well, I have got hopefully something rather exciting. I've got a package. So hopefully this will be my first issue of the new Stormbringer series, the subscription magazine. So let's get this thing open and start having a look at it. Oh, I love tearing things open. Right. What do we have inside here? Let's have a good look. So, now what we've got in here, quite nicely, is I've got issue number 1, and right here is issue number 2. So, what I'm going to have to do is obviously do a proper build of the models, but I'm just going to sort of take a look at them now, and then just kind of see what we actually get inside to begin with. So if you don't know what Stormbringer is the Warhammer Age of Sigmar subscription magazine, which allows you to build 2 complete armies, one based upon I think the order and the other on destruction. So basically one is a what are they called now? The Stormbringer, aren't they? Yeah, that's what I think, something along those lines. Stormcast Eternals. My goodness, I can't believe I forgot what I was saying then. Stormcast Eternals, and then the other force is predominantly made up, by the look of it, of Kruleboyz from the Uruk War clans. Now, I have not actually collected the kind of fantasy side of things since a good few years before they closed down Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and it's not because I wasn't interested in it. It's just at the time it didn't have a lot of space for new things. I was focusing on my 40k forces, so I thought, you know what, this is a good time to actually rekindle my my love of the fantasy setting, which was always actually the first thing I used to collect, and particularly orcs, or orcs as I think it's pronounced now. That is what we're looking at now of the new set. Now I do have a set of Savage Orc Boar Boys that I bought a little while back, but then yet completed, and hopefully I'll be able to build up a massive orc force. So I'm really looking forward to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start off by opening issue 1 and having a look inside and seeing what we get in it. Okay, kind of exciting for me. I really like the idea of this. Now obviously I'm kind of aware that I have to be careful about how much of the interior details that I show, for obviously copyright issues. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not being sponsored by Games Workshop. I'm not getting these for free. I'm paying for them myself. Okay, so what I want to do is I'll show you a little bit, but obviously I am kind of conscious about how much I can show you without getting in trouble. So let's start off with what you actually get inside this model wise. So looking here, we've got a Stormcast and we've got an Uruk. Now looks to me like they are, quite a nice little setup. Hopefully you can see that on there, and I'll try and kind of describe it from the back. So I like this guy here. He looks quite tall, but he also looks quite gangly, like, very thin arms. So not the kind of brutish or I'm gonna keep saying this until I find the right pronunciation, but Uruks. Not the ones that we were quite used to, particularly if you're into 40k. So these are thinner, they're taller, and I like that. Oddly enough, when I was younger, I wrote a bit of fan fiction, strangely enough, about maybe a third type of orc that would exist that was gnarled and taller and still strong but a lot thinner. So in some ways this actually turned an idea that I had into something real. So I'm really pleased about that. It's like my imagination became true. And for those who know about older Warhammer Fantasy Battle Orcs, some of them were actually quite thin anyway. They weren't big brutes like we got used to. Right, so on top of that, it looks like this guy has a little friend. So obviously I'm going to have to look up what the official designation is for that little guy, because I'm going to assume he's a type of goblinoid, but obviously, you know, they might have a specific yeah, he's grot, isn't he? I think they use the term grots now. Okay, now moving across, we've also got our Stormcast. So those Stormcasts, again, I actually like the aesthetic of the Stormcasts. And obviously, because it's a new law, they've really been able to, you know, not worry about creating male and female ones. Unlike with Space Marines, where it's pretty much established in law that a female Space Marine wouldn't work. And I have to admit, I kind of agree with that. If you know the process that a Space Marine goes through, and they do that to like sort of a 12 to 13-year-old boy, the fact that they would have to take a girl about 9 or 10 to complete that process, it makes it even creepier actually, and worse if it's so, you know, yeah, I kind of get you wouldn't want female Space Marines, because the law would just go even darker and more terrifying because of it. So I'm glad that they can actually make you know, Stormcast, it's a new setting, it's fantasy, and they're able to give us a bit of diversity in our models. And yeah, she looks absolutely, I actually think she looks great. She's got this lovely flowing cloak. She obviously looks like a magic user, well armoured. You know, the body armour looks quite well designed on her as well. So I'm really, really excited to put these models together soon. Obviously, we've got a couple of bases in here to actually put the models on. So interesting to see the Slaughter base. That's obviously for the grot. And then you've got the standard, I don't know if there's a technical term for these kind of bases yet. Anyway, the circular Slaughter base for putting the Stormcast and the, I think it's called the Killboss on. Okay, along with some very standard die to have a look at here as well. So, you know, who doesn't love more die? I love dice, yeah. We always need another one for reasons. Right then. So what I'll do is I'll then go on to what our little magazines look like here. So I'm going to do obviously issue 1 and 2 in the same video. And then what I'll probably do is I'll break them down as I get them. So obviously I'm assuming the next box is going to be issues 3, 4 and, you know, 3, 4, 5 and 6 I think we get together. So hopefully, you know, I'll be able to kind of bring this whole thing, I'll review them, I'll see what I think of them. I'm gonna try and be, you know, sensible about how I describe them. Obviously, if I like something, I'm gonna say it. If I don't like something, then I'm gonna say that as well. As I said, I'm not being sponsored. I'm paying for this myself, so there's no skin off my nose if I critique it in detail. So first thing I suppose I'll have a quick look at is you seem to get quite a substantially sized, what I can only describe as a battle map. Obviously, I can't even fit it on the screen, it's that big. I don't really want to twist my screen either, because then you will see the unfortunate state of my office, which I really need to clean up. Right, so it feels quite nice. So I like this in the feeling, okay? So if I feel the texture of that, it's got quite thick robustness to it. Obviously, I can imagine that it would start ripping and, you know, you can see along the lines here that it would probably start to wear a bit quite quickly. You can already see some little, like, crease lines built into it. But it does look double-sided. So on one side, it looks like a ruddish red desert. And then on the other side, it looks like, I don't know, I suppose like a bog or a marshland on one side, going over to what looks like a ruined temple on the other. So it looks quite lovely. It feels quite durable. Obviously, I don't think it would last for very long if you kept using it. But, you know, right away, as a map goes, actually, I don't think that's quite bad. It's quite big. And, you know, obviously, I think you'll get quite a good bit of use out of it before it started, you know, to be unusable. As I said, I do think though, little bits, it does come out, and you can see the fold lines immediately start creasing it. So it's got a couple of good and bad points. It's nice and big. It feels quite robust, but yeah, you can already see that it's not going to be a long-lasting thing, this, if you don't be careful with it and take care of it. Okay, moving on from there, what do I get in the actual book itself? So what kind of things do I get? So I get the Stormbringer. So here is issue 1. Obviously, nice little fight between the Kruleboy and the Celestial. It's obviously, it says, enter the mortal realms, build your first models, fight your first battle. So I would expect to see in this that it shows you how to play with these two models and give a dust up between them. Okay, so who is in this? So it talks about, welcome to the Age of Sigmar. I won't go into the details. It talks about the Stormcast and the Kruleboyz. I think some of the pictures straight away, they obviously evoke the feeling of the setting. A dragon bearing down on what's obviously an evil Chaos Lord. Yeah, so a little bit of history. Now this for me is a really good thing, okay, explaining it, because as I said, I've never really got myself into Age of Sigmar. Like, I could tell you insane amounts of detail about Horus Heresy. I could tell you a lot of details about the Warhammer 40k. I could go into lots of different bits of fluff about fantasy, but because I never had the time and the space and the resources for this, then obviously what I've done is, it's nice to have the information here. I know I could look this up online, but I want to read it firsthand and really see if I can get a feel for it and see if this will actually spark a love for it. Okay, so quite some interesting things here. It's obviously talking about them. It's talking about the Kruleboyz. It's giving some stats. Right, so the model is the Knight Arcanum. Okay, so that's what she is. It's got some key traits about her, so you can roll a set of traits, I'm assuming, before the battle. Okay, that's quite interesting. So it gives like some traits before they became a Stormcast. Again, I'll be interested. I don't know how a Stormcast is made, whether or not it's a magical process. I'm going to assume it is, because it's a fantasy setting rather than a gruesome scientific one of a Space Marine. Okay, oh, they've got an origin story. I like that. So that's kind of drawing me into the character straight away. And then you've got a little thing to put down some character names. Little beads. Okay. Then you got your Killboss and your Stab-Grot, and again, gives you some character traits. Again, I like that. It kind of makes it feel... Yeah, so it's like, how I get this, right? So it's like, on the Stormcast, it's a first name and a last name. And then on the Killboss and Stab-Grot, obviously, the character just has, obviously, a single Orky name, or Oruk name. And even the Stab-Grot, I like it. The Stab-Grot's even got a little backstory. Cool. Yeah. I assume the Killboss probably goes through a lot of Stab-Grots because they annoy them. So that's nice, actually. That's a nice idea to give them a little backstory. Okay. So what have we got here? We got, obviously, instructions on how to put them together, which I will always, as always, film my builds because I love doing it. And it seems that people actually want to watch that, which I'm very pleased about. Yeah, so we do have some really nice stuff in this, and obviously it does the how to play as well, which I like. So obviously I'm going to have to learn how to play this. I've never really played it before, so obviously I'm going to have to learn how. Hopefully I can follow these. I don't know how Age of Sigmar plays, so again, that's going to be a new experience for me. So what else do we have here? Right, so it looks like a poster by the look of it. So let's see what we get. Oh gosh, it's quite a big pull out, this part, actually. It's very big. Yeah, the one side is, I suppose, it looks a bit like an explanation of what you get inside it. So it's very, very big. I can't wait to get that colour changing mug. Honestly, I really like the idea of that. the premium issues look nice. So the premium issues are here. So you get some Danko trolls, nice rock cut trolls. You get a dwarf, a Gundstock gun hauler. You get the Gordrak Fist of Gork, nice, and Krondis, son of Dracothian. Right, so we get quite a lot of things there. What you get in the box looks, what you get in the whole thing as well looks really comprehensive. So I like to see you get, you know, paint, which I always like paints. Some brush types, which I always need. I always need brushes. Ooh, the few little stories, which is nice. Ooh, now I like that paint scheme there. I really might seriously consider going for that one. Yeah, I like that red. And then obviously you get all the different things in the kit, really looking for the different things. So yeah, you get Stormcasts, Sylvaneth, and the Caradron Overlords. Basically my favourite little thing ever, which is of course dwarves. Dowie. Okay, and then on the destructive side, you've got the Kruleboyz, the Gloomspite Gits, which are the Grots without a doubt, and the Iron Jaws. So you actually get a nice combination. You know, so that's perfect for me. I'm really looking forward to this. As I said, I've never done something like this before, so I am really looking forward to it. Oh, and yeah, you get some nice interesting little things. So yeah, it looks like you've just kind of got a little pull out here to organize everything, to give everything names. You know, take them off, built, painted and played with them, which is quite nice. It's like a little tick list to say what you've done. Yeah, and that's it for issue 1. So so far I'm happy. Yeah, I'm looking at it and going, well, you know what, that's 2 characters, so to my mind that's worth the money straight away. Okay, so even if I was only interested in this bit of plastic, this plastic is worth the cost of the issue. Now obviously then you get all of these little bits, and for someone like myself who wants to learn how to play this game, I don't just want to collect it, I want to actually play it. I'm hoping one day maybe to find a club and go from there. So that is issue 1, and then I'm gonna use the same video to open up issue 2. Okay then, so let's start having a look now at issue 2 and what you get in this. Now, although I haven't done many of these things, I haven't ever bought a Games Workshop subscription, one thing that I do know as a fact is that the first issues start off cheap of these kind of things. They give you a pretty expensive ticket item, the price increases, and the amount of content you get tends to dip as you go into a few issues. So I am expecting that after a while, particularly with the big kit models, you might get everything all at once. So I'm kind of preparing myself for that as I go through and start looking at issue 2. So now here's issue 2. So the thing I'm noticing straight away is that's more plastic. Okay, so I've actually, you know, if I look at the issue 1, it looks twice the amount, but I also know there's not twice the amount of models on there. There was only 2 in issue 1, and this looks like a unit. Okay, so let's open this up and find out what's in here. So let's just very quickly start off. Okay, there we go. Stormbringer 2. Kruleboy on the front, and you're going to get 10 in this. So we're going to get 10 of these Kruleboyz Gutrippaz. So that's good. Okay, we're getting 10. We're getting an actual unit full of them here. So we're not getting any half units to begin with. Right, and I tend to think in 10s anyway. I'm probably, again, Warhammer Fantasy, and obviously 40k and Horus Heresy, I think in 10s. So obviously 10 feels like a unit to me, or at least the smallest size of a unit to me. Right, I'm going to look at the book in a second, but let's have a look at the sprue here and let's see what we think of the models. So, there's no dice in this one. I do love a good dice. I want more die. Right, maybe we'll get some artillery dice or something in the future. I don't know how it works. Okay, right. What do I think of this thing then? Well, I love those shields. Those shields are so cool. All sculpted. You know, you're not got flat panels. I'm finding it actually very interesting in a sense that they look like a solid metal sheet, which, you know, again, it's that they're not using wood, the Kruleboyz, by the look of it. They're not kind of getting a load of wood, putting it together. It feels, based upon this design here, that what they're doing is they're getting big chunks of sheet metal and then just hammering them. And you can even see on the back, I can actually see on the back what looks like a very hammered shield. Yeah, so it's obvious that the Kruleboyz, they get the idea that you want your shields made of strong stuff, but they lack the machining to actually do a high quality shield. As a result, they've got these shields, but then on top of that, they then seem to have the skill to make scary faces on them. So they haven't got the quality to actually go and machine press them, but they've definitely got the quality to go away and make scary faces. I'm happy with that. I can live with that. Yeah, they've got scary faces. I'm happy. I like scary faces. Yeah, either that, or with the way that orcs and Uruks work and the whole idea of growing squigs from fungus, it could be even worse. That could actually be a living creature. So that could actually be a squig that they breed to be completely flat. Yeah, and it's just a horrible little mouth, and then they bat it into someone and it eats them. So for all I know, that's a living, breathing creature, a shield squig that they smack into people's faces during a fight or defend themselves from blows. That would actually be very grim if that were true. I'm hoping that's not true. I'm hoping it's just a sheet metal that they put a scary face on. Okay, the Kruleboyz Gutrippaz themselves. Again, it's those Kruleboyz. They're very thin, very gangly. You know, they're thin, but they don't look weak for it. So it's kind of like they've got muscles, and it's that kind of wiry strength muscles. So I like the look of that. The weapons, obviously, now they're obviously, to get the wood, they've obviously got straight little bits of wood in order to make spears. I'm sure someone who knows better about how older and ancient spears were made, but obviously, you know, I don't think spears were just kind of made out of branches. I think when people started realizing how to make spears, they would probably take trees that were partially grown to actually get a strong spear. And again, that's what that looks like. They don't look like the branches. They don't look like branches that have been cut off and then reshaped. That looks like something that's been grown for a while till it's the right height and then had the little branches cut off. Again, like the shield, it implies a certain amount of sophistication with a little bit of agriculture. They know how to grow a tree, or they know how to at least find trees that have got to the right height to make their life easy. I love when something, you know, maybe I'm making up the story in my head and that wasn't the designer's idea, but the fact that I'm able to infer that story from the design, I'm really happy about. And again, you've got, like, you know, the spear tips, they appear very personalized, like the shield, so they look like they've been made individually. So, you know, no carbon copies across them. They look like they're all unique artifacts. Again, suggesting that, you know, either they have multiple places that they make these and multiple people making them, so multiple grots making them to a particular style, or the Kruleboyz makes it themselves out of whatever they have around. Okay, and as I said, I think, obviously I'm looking at the faces as well. So, they're kind of like, they got a little bit of a hood draped over them. Their clothing is very sparse, so they seem to only really be, loincloth, and, obviously a hood over the top. Now, obviously, you just have to wonder, about their environment. There's definitely a feeling of the swamp about these, these Kruleboyz. There's something of a swampy feel to them, like you can imagine that they're just living in a very wet place as a rule. So again, it's that, actually, it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't overburden themselves with too much clothing, because that's risking slowing them down through marshes. Again, that's just me coming up with a story in my head based upon what I see. So actually, you know what? I like these guys. Okay, I think they're nice. I think they tell a story. I don't know if that's what the story that the designer wanted, but it's the story that I've picked up from them. And the fact that I paint through story, and I won't collect a model that I can't think of a story of. This is it. It's like, I want more of these because I can feel there's a story here. Yeah, that story is obviously of a group of Uruks. They live in a very dank place. They obviously might not have a lot of resources available, so their only option really is to raid others for resources. So I like those kind of stories that you can tell, and that's it. That's the story I'm telling with these. I hope So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Okay then. There's some bases in here as well, but they just are kind of standard slaughter base, that you might find through a Space Marine. So obviously that's rather easy, and we'll see more into that when I start building them on a different video. So what about the issue itself? So you don't get, there's obviously not as many freebies on this, that's pretty clear cut. But you get a lot more models, so that's forgiven. Now, this is going into a bit more detail on the world itself, or the world building. Now, I like that. I like to know what the worlds are like. So my understanding is as well that the Age of Sigmar is not one place. It's lots of little different realms. I don't know how they exist within each other. But I have seen suggestions that parts of the world that were somehow saved, if not in whole, then in segments, and brought into the realm of Sigmar. So I'm interested to see how it comes up. So each realm is a different kind of magic. Each realm was a vast landscape to warring, and every realm was filled with treasures and dangers. So okay, 7. So 8 worlds, 1 per type of magic. So that's quite a nice little story there. And then we've got the different types. So we've got the Grand Alliance of Order, which is obviously Sigmar, at the head of that, with their Stormcasts. Grand Alliance of Destruction, without a doubt, going to be my favourite pretty early on. Obviously, the Uruks. It'd be nice to know what else came with the Uruks, if there are any other types with them. Okay, rules on the Kruleboyz Gutrippaz, or some basic rules. Again, that kind of roll. Right. Every Gutripper carries a scare shield. In addition to protecting the Gutripper, also intimidate the enemy. They bang on their shields, terrifying war cry. And they're made on their appearance is of the creatures that live in the swamp. Hey, I'm actually quite pleased about that. I sort of like felt swamp, and I got swamp. Right then. So that's quite interesting actually then. So you got the Iron Jaws, who are obviously the more traditional big beefy Uruks. Then you got the Gloomspite Gits, who are the little weaselly ones, obviously living in mines, I'm guessing. And then you got the Kruleboyz, who obviously are the cunning ones. Nice, I like that. So you can create quite a nice collection. Okay, names for our Kruleboyz can be generated, which is quite nice. Nice. So I like the idea. I'm just reading through, so things like hero titles, giving the unit a name, the how to build, which I can't wait to build and show you all on the how to build video that I will do. Introducing the concept of armor saves, which is let's have a look. Okay, so let's have a look here. Yeah, it gives a little bit of a how to do a battle thing, so we can have a look at that in the future. Hopefully, if I try and actually put the models together, I might, if I do any video about trying the battles out, I'll probably do them before I paint, because I'm a notoriously slow or lazy, well, not lazy, but I sometimes I get myself trying to do too much too soon, and it takes me too long. Okay, and then that is it for issue number 2. So obviously there's a few things to tell the story and push it along. I'm waiting for, obviously, issue 3 and 4 will be coming out hopefully quite soon over the next few weeks. So it looks like I can look forward to some Stormcast models, so a unit of Stormcasts to fight. And then obviously by the time you get to the 4th issue, you start getting paints to actually paint them. Now I'm looking at this and I'm actually quite pleased, because the paints that are coming in that I don't actually have. Well, I've got one of them, but the other 3 I don't have, so great. I'm actually gonna have some paints, and I've got a starter brush to do the undercoating with. So that's my review of issues 1 and 2 of Stormbringer. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and you know, maybe it's made you decide you want to get it, maybe it's decided, you know, you don't want to. As I said, I'm just doing it because I want to try Age of Sigmar, and I want to try and find a way to get into it as easily as possible. I am going to try my damnedest to never let these join the pile of shame, so I'm going to try my best to just get them, put them together, spray them, paint them, and just play with them as soon as I can, and hopefully I'll actually be able to enjoy them and bring you videos of me doing it. So anyway, long video, but I did have 2 issues to actually go through there. I hope you enjoyed listening to me do this, and I'm really looking forward to doing more in the future. Please like and subscribe to my channel so I can do more of this, and hopefully the next video I make will be of me building these things.